Mediocre Disc Golf Podcast, an average podcast for the average disc golfer. As always, I'm Evan Amstutz, joined by Kim Hatcher. We're happy you could join us. Kim, how are you doing today?
Doing good. I'm pumped as always.
As always.
It's been rough lately. I have been wanting to play disc golf so bad, and then I can't. But then Josh wants to go. So of course I'll go, and I got to stretch out my back and go. And it's like watching them throw the disc. I'm like, so pretty. I want to be with them. I want to throw. So it's been
I
rough for
wish I
sure.
could do that.
I wish I could do that. Yeah. It's definitely I guess this injury has kind of been helpful in the sense of like I remember why I love the game because I want to play at all times and I can't,
Mhm.
which is really tough. But also kind of a reminder that I don't want to be injured and I need to take care of my body. I need to remember to stretch. I need to remember to do my bands. I need to remember that maybe I need to run a little bit right before I throw. Like I got to get the body moving. I'm not the type of player that can get out of the car and just throw, but I keep thinking I could be. So,
Yeah, I always, with my backhand, like my distance isn't always the best out of the car, but like everything feels fine. When I go forehand right out of the car, just like try to rip something hard, my elbow's like, hey, how are you?
dude,
And
yes. Or your
it
shoulders
just,
like, good morning.
yeah,
Good morning.
it's always the worst when you go and power a forehand and then your arm just tingles and you're like, that
Oh,
wasn't good.
100%.
I don't know
Yeah,
what that means,
100%.
but I know it's not good.
Definitely not very good.
It's like when a light comes on in your car and you're like, I don't know what that symbol means, but it can't be anything good.
Yeah. You're like, should I pay attention to this? Nah, it's fine. Yeah, until it's not
Yeah,
fine.
that's me as a forehand preferred disc golfer. I'm like, oh, my arm tingles. Let's keep powering a force as hard as I can.
Yep, pretty
let's
much.
let's keep throwing these locust hyzer flips instead of just learning how to throw a backhand straight. Whatever.
So how's this been for you? You guys, what did you do this weekend? You had disc golf this weekend. What was it?
Yeah. Josh and I played our first doubles tournament of the year. We came in second and got our USDGC qualification spot.
Why didn't you win?
Oh, we did not play well. We did not play well at
Oh,
all.
oh,
We
oh.
managed to take two bogeys on two birdie holes throughout the event.
Sounds like a Josh thing to do. He'll get the birdies on the hard holes, but then he'll just mess up those teeny dinkers.
One of the holes we both lost a disc off the tee. Yeah, so that was a good one. And of course it was both of our workhorse discs. Mine was my AGL Cedar, which is like a captain's raptor,
Mm-hmm.
and his was his
Yeah.
soft proxy, which is his dead straight approach disc. So we were both kind of without our favorite discs
Yeah.
for the second round, which was rough, but we still managed to pull it together. Uh, we figured out that we kind of had an idea it was going to work this way, but we we work really, really well as a team because my style of disc golf is play the smart play, execute on your up shots, putt well. Whereas
Yeah.
Josh's is a lot more of try to break the course, figure out all the ways that like you can if you
That's
can
a
throw
good description of
550
him.
feet, cool. I'm gonna just bomb a hyzer around this and see where it ends up. So my role
That's
was
such
to
a great description of him.
my role was to generally tee off first and keep us in play and allow Josh to do the stupid dumb things.
Yeah.
And for the most, I'd say for 90% of it, it worked. I think we did a good job of when one of us wasn't playing well, the other was playing really well. And
Yeah, that's what you guys were telling me about everything.
overall, pretty good. I hit an ace. I got
Oh,
a wedge ace where it sticks in the side of the
dude,
basket.
I didn't know I could follow along a PDGA. So like the entire time I'm just kind of chilling, like waiting for updates. And Hoffy goes, great ace. And I'm like, who aced? Who did it? Like, tell me. Only to find out that you aced with the dumbest type of ace possible, the wedge ace. I cannot believe that even happened. That's just wild.
Yeah, so quick background or quick context for that. Literally the hole prior, and now it's permanently written on this disc. I was telling Josh, because this is one of those moments, a few whole stretch where I was playing terribly. I'm like, I feel pretty useless because, as the person who's trying to play safe, if you're not playing safe and you're not playing well, just forcing your partner to not play to their game. So I was like, I am absolutely useless. You're carrying us right now. And the guy on our card goes, you know what? You're never completely useless. At the very least, you're being a good example for what not to do. Like,
Oh,
awesome. Thank you.
thank you. Thanks. That was so helpful. Thank you so much for interrupting.
So we get up to the next hole, and it was of course a hole that we bogeyed because we both threw it bad, and we both went OB somehow. And I just go up there the round prior, I had thrown my force like way past, and it was not good. It was not good. Like I was like 40 feet past. So I disc down. This is a forehand hole. Disc down to my locust, which when I was out in California, Josh Jones of AGL allowed me to buy one of like the first run, like very, very limited edition locusts. And I was just like, I've thrown this once or twice. It's pretty stable compared to the other locusts in my bag. Let me just give it a swing. Out of my hand, Jonathan Crow, who is on our card, goes, I mean, that could do something. And it just slowly starts drifting down the hill, and all of a sudden stops in the side of the basket. And we all just, like, I put my hands up, and we all look at each other. Like, it was the quietest ace I've ever experienced, just because we were all shocked.
Because it's not like a ching or
yeah. For us, it was dead silent. Our buddy Corey Spate was on the next tee box, which is probably 50 feet away from the basket. And he's like, it was the weirdest sound ever. It's just kind of a thunk. And we get up there, and my disc is completely tacoed in there. But boy, it's hard to celebrate an ace like that because you post online about it and people rip you apart going, that shouldn't count. I wouldn't take the ace pot, blah, 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 blah. I'm like,
that should count. You do it. Do it.
You do it and then refuse your ace pot. Like, go ahead, be the bigger man. I just thought it was.
Right, tell us all. We want to know.
Very funny.
How much did you get from the ace pot?
$230.
Ooh, yeah.
It was a good ace pot. I was pretty happy to take that home. And of course, the majority of it was paid out in singles, so it looked like a thick wad of cash, which is kind of fun to walk away from the. It's kind of fun to walk away from
so funny.
From the tournament central at the end, just with an envelope full of cash.
We got all these singles. That's so funny. So you played up in Jacksonville, right? That was Trinity?
Yep.
Gotcha. Did you hear anything about this past weekend at the Orlando Open? Pretty big B tier in Orlando.
I did not. I was pretty busy with doubles, and then we went to Disney in Orlando, so I was not thinking disc golf the next day. But tell me about it. What happened?
Well, let's just start with this. You weren't a collegiate athlete, but you played sports growing up and all that fun stuff. You've done that.
Yep. Runner, golfer.
2 competitive rounds a day.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 rounds, 2 days. How do you feel about that?
I feel like this will get into our main topic conversation later, but I think that if you're not in good physical condition could lead to injury.
I even feel like if you're in decent physical condition, it's going to lead to injury. It just doesn't sound like it. And it's Florida.
Got lucky that it was very nice this weekend. Like it was.
Yeah, I did hear
it was nice. Beautiful weather all weekend, but I mean, it's also May in Florida. It could be 150 degrees with 200% humidity, and you could hate yourself for just stepping outside. So the fact that they did that, it's a little surprising. from what I
You
understand, that
know,
was like an old pre-COVID way of doing disc golf. But like you think about it, Pro Tour doesn't do it. A tiers generally are like it's very rare that an A tier will have 2 rounds in one day. And if it is a 2 round in one day, it's followed up by 1 round the next day. I don't know, especially in Florida, I think that could be dangerous. Like
yeah.
I'm just picturing other rounds I've played in May where I mean, it's brutally hot here sometimes. We,
Yeah, 100%. I heard there was a ton of DNFs as well. Let me see. I want to see if I can find it. So no one
I
DNF
did see
there.
that there were like 4 DNFs in MA1 alone. I didn't check the other divisions.
Yeah, MA1, 4 DNFs, one, so that's five. We're at 5 DNFs. That's not counting people who just dropped right beforehand, too.
Mm-hmm.
People who were like, maybe not.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
just
6 DNFs, 6 DNFs overall. That's not bad. But
if it was hotter, I
I,
guarantee it would have been worse.
oh yeah, if we were in July, that's just brutal. And I hope people who hear me understand that, like, I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida. I'm used to the heat. I love the heat. I hate when it's cold. I actually
Mm-hmm.
don't mind playing in the summer. I'm used to it. I also played college softball and I was a catcher. So like I'm used to being in gear. It doesn't bother me to be out in the heat. It doesn't. And if I'm saying that that sounds like a stupid idea, that's probably a stupid idea. I get that that was the old way. But before COVID, we had 50% less people playing competitively than we do now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have so much more people playing competitively, so many more people who were college athletes, that were athletes of other sports, that were ultimate athletes, that are used to being competitive athletes. And it's kind of gotten a little bit away from just, I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to be rude. Just the older guys just getting
Like a
together and playing
casual,
rounds.
yeah, tournaments
Yeah,
are
it's
no
really gotten
longer
away from that.
tournaments are a competitive event now, not as much of a social gathering, or it's not the emphasis. And what
Yes.
worries me, I hope we don't continue this trend. I hope it's just kind of a central Florida man thing. Uh what worries me about 4 rounds, especially starting to get this late into the year, there's a reason the Florida swing's kind of done. Uh is like you have your players parties, you have guys that'll go out and like as soon as their round's done, they're cracking open a beer.
Or
I
they're cracking
used to
open the
be,
beer during the round.
that's a different that's a whole other
That's
podcast
a whole
episode.
nother day.
Uh but like I was a competitive endurance athlete. You're preparing for a hot day multiple days in advance.
Yeah.
And if you're putting people out there for 2 hot rounds 2 days in a row, and some of them are going and not preparing for the next day or not trying to recover from the current day, I really worry that we could see an incident. I hope that it won't happen. I hope that I'm wrong, but I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I've seen
agree.
some really, really good in shape endurance athletes who prepare, still struggle in the heat, and still get taken away in ambulances because of a heat stroke. I've played in tournaments where they have water supplied, but by that second round, midway through, you go cooler and it's all empty. It's it's a bit of a worrying prospect. I hope that's not the trend. Not because
I think,
I'm not tough enough or whatever. I think it's
yeah,
more of
like the
a
whole point
general
of being
safety.
competitive. Yeah, I think the whole point of being competitive is just we're not seeing who could outlast. This is not Survivor. We're not
It,
seeing who can make it to the final tournament. It's not Iron Man tournaments either. Like this is completely different if we're saying this is an Iron Man, because those people who do that, you crazy, but like you go do you. And you knew what you were
mm-hmm.
signing up for.
Yeah.
But to have a high level B tier at good Orlando parks being 2 rounds a day for 2 days.
Mm-hmm. At a relatively prestigious event for the area.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about it. I don't remember who. I was talking to them about it because they had just played it and they're like, "Oh, I was so tired." And I was like, "Then why did you play?" They're like, "It's so much fun. It's like the good old days." I'm like, disc golf has evolved so much. I understand where people are like, oh, that's how we always used to do it. Like, I feel like if we could just put that in quotes, that's always how we used to do it. We also didn't have this much women playing, and we didn't really have this much women's only tournaments. But are we
Didn't
going to
have
use that
many,
excuse like this is what we always have done?
or the rec players. The rec, I mean, if you look at those old division or old tournaments, it was mostly pro players. Like pros would make up a good third to half of
Yeah.
the divisions, whereas now most of the time, unless it's a like a throwdown thing where there's multiple weekends, it's mostly rec and novice.
Yeah. More amateur weekends. Like, we can't just keep using that. This is the way it's always been. This is the way it's always been. It's because disc golf is changing fast and we need to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
Someone mentioned something to me this weekend, but that guy I was talking to, he's like, yeah, by the end of the round, I couldn't even feel my feet. They were hurting so bad. And I was like, that doesn't seem healthy. And I think you should get that looked at.
Yeah, there's a difference between being tough and doing something stupid where the whole thing is, oh yeah, we want to be able to play this sport forever. And you should be able to. This isn't soccer, this isn't football,
Yeah.
this isn't insert contact sport here where you hit your 30s and you're done. This is a casual sport. This is non-contact sport. We should not be playing to the point of pure exhaustion. There's a difference between like, oh, I'm exhausted because I played this really difficult course in a tournament round, so I was really focused. Like I've had plenty of those where I get off the course, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just mentally done. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't I haven't pushed myself to the point of like physically not being able to compete. I don't think that's what this sport is.
Yeah.
But
Like, my favorite is I'm always a big fan of like my ladies and I always pay attention. And most all ladies that played this weekend, I'm going to say all, I'm just going to say a good handful, all posted and said something along the lines of, please no one let me play 4 rounds in 2 days ever again.
mm-hmm.
And it's different. Don't get me wrong. Josh and I will play a whole weekend. We'll play 2 rounds. We'll play 3 rounds sometimes. But that's with taking breaks and going at your own pace and just relaxing.
Not
You're
a
not
tournament
focusing on really
mental.
anything.
Yeah,
Tournament
like
mentality takes everything out of you sometimes.
when we were at Throwdown, Josh and I were playing just about 3 rounds a day, but that was completely different because it'd be one practice round in the morning, then we go play like a putter only round, and then we go play a glow round later that evening with like a full meal in between each thing, sitting
A
down
break.
and
Yeah,
like
no rush, no mental game. Like, you're
yeah,
just
the
going out
putter
there and you're
round and
enjoying
the
it.
glow round we only kept score just to like check it off. We played that at you on UDisc.
Oh, I've done that. Yep.
But playing, I don't know. I feel like we could go on and on about this, but
Needless to say, let's just sum it up for everybody here. Disc golf is changing and we got to keep moving with it. We can't always say, well, that's how it's always been, because we got to keep moving forward. And also, it's hot in Florida and 4 rounds in 2 days is just a lot on the body.
if we're
And this
gonna
is
do
not
that,
Survivor.
do that in the winter. Don't do it in May.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that in the winter. And I still wouldn't sign up for it. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Well, everybody, it is the second episode of May, so you know what that
It's
means.
gonna be May.
No, it is May right now, Kim. You need to reset your calendar. But it is the Professor's Drill of the Month episode.
It is. So, Professor Disc Golf this week. Can you give us a little rundown, throwdown?
Yeah, so he is going to be, I'm pretty confident that he just looks at my swing, goes, we should probably talk about that on the podcast. And so he's going to be teaching people how to engage their hips for the throw. which I think a lot of people can use. It is a skill that you see at the high level. Like if you compare your throw to insert pro here,
Yeah.
that is going to be a main difference, is the timing and the actual engagement of the hips. So Josh's hips don't lie, and neither do his drills. So everybody
Yeah.
go.
He's got for hips definitely something he can help out with. He is very good at pinpointing. That's just from a baseball thing. Like
Mhm,
when you use your hands too much, what it looks like, and when you use only your hips too much, what
mhm,
that looks like. So I feel like he does have some knowledge in how to pinpoint that of what you're doing and then how to work on that. Disc golf
mhm.
is such related to a baseball and softball swing. So definitely it's got some good insight. Go check out the video. We're going to be collabing with it on our page as well.
Yeah. And if you want a disc to use while doing this drill,
You want a disc?
I always want a disc. But head on over to the disc shop. You can go to the discshop.com, or you can go in the store. They've got a huge selection of discs. And if you're a listener and you're in store and you tell them that you're a listener, you get 10% off. If you're online, you use our code MDGPOD, you also get 10% off. So savings everywhere. Go check out our friends at the disc shop.
I love it because if it's on sale, it feels better.
You always say it, and I never correct you because
You're
you're right.
because it feels because it does. It feels great.
And you know where they could use some discounts? The West Coast. West Coast is expensive. Trust me, I just paid my credit card bill for my trip.
Yikes. West Coast swing coming up. How many things are in the West Coast swing? Is it like 4 locations?
3 or 4. They got
3 or 4.
OTB. They
We're starting
just
at the
did.
OTB Open.
Yeah, they just did the Pro Weekend of Masters Cup, which isn't on the Pro Tour, but there's a good number of people like Gannon, Alden, James Proctor, Greg Barsby took it down. So that's like the unofficial start this year. Let's see. I know there's the Portland Open. Is Beaver State still on there?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Just the OTB Open and the Portland Open. Oh wait, they don't. I don't. Hot take here. The way that they lay out the schedule sucks. Give me top to bottom date in order. What's going on? Yeah, so there are 4 stops on the West Coast swing. 2 Elite Series, 2 Silver Series. One of them is actually an Elite Plus, which I believe just means that there's more points and potentially more money on the
Yeah, it's
line.
more points. Yeah.
Okay. But it is the OTB Open followed by the Beaver State Fling. Yes, Beaver State Fling. Then you have the Cascade Challenge, which I believe is new to the tour.
Where's that at?
That is in Washington State. Let's learn more. Looks like it's at Shelton Springs Disc Golf Course.
It's got is it strange that we're doing the West Coast swing around this time? I feel like it's usually around this time.
It's usually around this time, yeah, because usually from here they'll jump over to some people jump over to Europe.
True.
Because the European Open's in July. So I know Paul's not doing the Portland Open, so he's missing the
Paul's been
first.
struggling lately. Paul has been struggling lately. Is he doing OTB? Let me check. Let me check. Click that button. Scroll down to P for Paul. P for Paul. Paul Ulibarri is playing. Nope, Paul is not playing.
Interesting. Yeah, I know he was talking about he's doing an early European tour, so I don't know how
Well,
much
that's
of that
fun.
plays into it, but yeah, the West Coast swing is exciting. Portland Open is one of my favorite ones to watch. I forget what the course is, but it's the one
I like
that
the OTB Open. It's one of my favorites.
okay. The OTB Open, I guess they made some changes last year, but it's a lot more of a just like pure golf course,
Yeah.
like ball golf course, disc golf course. But I think the improvements they made to the OTB Open definitely helped. And then the Portland
Yeah.
Open is one park style, one uh, ball golf course that is just a beautiful piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
Any predictions?
Let me see who's playing. I'd like to see Ezra take a big win. I feel like he's been on a plateau right now, but I think he could do it. He had some top finishes this year. I would also really like to see.
I think Simon's gonna back to back the OTB Open.
Do you think so?
It
I
just
could see it.
it suits his style so well. I Portland, I think there are a lot of players who could take that down just because there's two different styles. So kind of depends. I mean, again, Simon could back to back that.
Yeah, I like to see Simon wouldn't be bad. Would like to see Ezra take a win. In the female side, I think Holland Hanley's due. She's due. She's
Mm-hmm.
been the bridesmaid. I could see her. This is a course where she could really succeed. I really want to see it.
Is
And I
Kristen
think
even in the
Kristen
field
already
for
went
these?
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
think.
Kristen went back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kristen
So,
Tatar's not playing.
and Paige is rehabbing an injury. So it's really,
Mm-hmm.
and Kat Allen's been struggling a little bit
Could
this
be
year.
anybody's games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be
This could
anyone's
be
game this
really,
weekend.
really exciting on the FPO side.
Very true.
Notice that we didn't bring up any Discmania players, and I think that plays into Hoffy's heater for this week. You ready to get into
Oh,
that?
all right. Hoppy's Heaters. It is one of our fan favorite segments. Brought to you by Spy Kaiser Dies.
Yeah, so this, for those who are new to the show, is where our social media manager, Matt Hoffman, gives his hot takes on things that nobody else is talking about, and maybe for a good reason. So let's see
Probably.
what he is upset about this week. This one is titled "Being a Discmaniac is Hard."
This Hoffy heater is extremely personal because I am a diehard Discmaniac, but I have come to realize over my roughly year and a half of playing now how hard it is to be a Discmaniac. One, all the Innova made runs are just absolutely expensive, and you have to throw out an arm and a leg to get some of the best made discs ever made. A second run FD, what is considered one of the best discs ever made, will run you roughly $80 to $150, depending on the run of the disc. But secondly, Discmania has made absolutely 0 sense with their numbers on the way they identify their discs and on the way that they use that to correlate with their flight numbers. The number one disc I like to throw out here is the MD3. Back in the Innova made run days, the MD3 was a 5503. Makes perfect sense for an MD3. Now, on top of that, when Discmania was bought and rebranded itself as its own Discmania, making its own plastic, the MD3 now is a 5601. That flies like a 56 -11, flies like a buzz. But, as a Discmaniac, it's very hard to find the determining factor when the discs don't match the old runs and the new runs. And so I imagine this as being a new player, where if you're going into these ideas of what these discs do and what they are, you're going to have zero idea into what these new numbers mean, what versus the old numbers, Innova made Discmania versus new Discmania, and I find that extremely challenging.
I don't think I've ever thrown a single Discmania disc, and I'm sponsored by Discraft on top of it. But I do agree that Discmania is just confusing. And I've always been a person, I've loved Discraft, but I'll throw anything from any company before I got sponsored that would fill a hole in my bag. And I never looked at Discmania. I don't understand how you can have I don't even know the right words. FD. He said MD3. There you go. MD3. Yeah. But then you have another disc called the Doombird.
So yeah,
I don't understand why it's animals and numbers.
So from my understanding, if it's like letter number, that's like their standard run of discs. And if it's got a weird name, it's like their tour series. So like
Mm-hmm.
the Midnight Prowl, I believe, is the Kyle Klein Origin, which
This
that's
is so
already
confusing. And
it's
now you have
very
an origin,
confusing.
but the origin's not.
An Origin's a stock disc, but it doesn't follow the MD because that'd be mid range.
I like themes. I like themes.
I'm sponsored by a company that names everything after a tree. So
I
like,
like trees.
yeah, exactly. But I know that it's like there's no, oh, this run is named something completely different. It's still a tree. It's still a locust. It's still a redwood every time. It's just the plastic is different.
But I love that. I love that you have themes. Like Innova, Innova's just like animals, I guess you could say, although sometimes you're like, what's a rock? But like Innova kind of is like animals. You've got Clash. Clash is all food, right?
Mm-hmm. Clash is all food.
Uh
MVP and MVPs all sciencey terms, axioms
yeah,
all like emotions and that sort of thing.
Castoplast is just weird words. Like it's just weird words.
Also known as Swedish, but that's fine.
I'm gonna get hate mail for this. Um Discraft, I could see Discraft's a little different, but you still feel like they flow together.
Yeah, it's not like
Like
they're
we're not crazy.
yeah, they're not jumping from, oh, we have like this numerical nomenclature that actually like makes sense as you follow along, and then jumping over to like Prodigy started doing this too. Prodigy
Yes,
has
they
the
have been.
PA3, the PA4, the A4, the power, the P1 or the D1, D1, D3, all that sort of stuff. And then they're like the Falcor. I'm like, cool. Don't know what that means. I expect
What
when
does that mean?
I expect when I buy a Prodigy disc that I can look at the first letter and have a reasonable guess at what the speed is. And then same thing with the number of whether it's higher or lower determines the stability. Like that's generally how I expect it. Especially, I'm an engineer. If you're going to give me a nomenclature like that, please continue it. Don't mix it up. Twitch, I think, is what Matt was getting at. And also, he hates it when I say this, but for
Say it.
me, Discmania is just expensive Innova. It's Innova can go to Dick's Sporting Goods or an Academy or something like that, and I can go get a Star Destroyer, Star Strike. I can build a pretty solid bag just out of the stuff at like a big box store for like $15 a disc.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. Even their putters, their P2s, very expensive. Their Rainmakers, very expensive for putters. Like,
I could see it's more of like I could see that. I don't know. I don't go, hey, where's your Discmania table? I want to go check that out. I've never ever been that person. But I've seen Discmania. I like Eagle's a great person. Simon, when he was with Discmania, it just I don't know, it just feels like a company that's very much premium.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd say that.
yeah, I agree. I don't, I don't know. It's just their plastic looks and feels really good,
Mm-hmm.
but I, I don't like throwing their stuff. It's just is what it is. It confuses me,
It's confusing. That's our theme. It's just confusing.
which is exactly what Matt was getting to. General consensus: agree with the heater.
I agree.
Yeah, this is quite the heater. And if you want a disc that is an absolute heater, go check out Spikeheiser Dies. Brandon is creating amazing dies for everyone to enjoy, and you can check him out on Instagram at shdies_DG and see what he has to offer in his shop, or you can request something custom. Spikeheiser Dies, excellence by design. Well, earlier we were talking about 4 rounds in one weekend and the strain that that puts on your body. We were also talking about you going through an injury. I think a lot of I think something that's like very underrated in the disc golf world up until recently has been working out for disc golf
Mm-hmm.
and being in shape for better disc golf tournaments, for better just overall health. It's harder to be, in my opinion, it's harder to be tired at the end of a tournament if you're in good shape.
True. That's a good point. That's a good point.
So if you do end up in a situation where you are playing 2 rounds in one day, if you're less tired than the competitors in your division, that's an advantage. And if you want to
Yeah.
win in a tournament, you want to place well in a tournament, take every advantage you can get.
It's a good point. I feel like with this new age of disc golf, ever since COVID, and so many new people are finding the sport,
Mm-hmm.
that it is becoming more of a sport. Can we say that it's kind of really transformed more into a sport rather than a casual
Recreational thing. Yeah.
recreational thing? Although we did have the pro league, of course, beforehand, we did have a lot of people who used to play, but it has boomed so big now that you have to be better. You have to throw further. You have to putt better. I think definitely some ladies who have played in the past have said that, like, you can't just win because you do one thing good. You have to be an all-around player. And to be an all-around player, you have to put in the work. And I think more than that, you have to be able to keep the body moving. So I think working out's really important, although you can't do too much. Because Holland Hanley used to be a power lifter.
Right.
And she can't do that anymore because you can't put that much strain on your body.
It's definitely, when you get into like the nitty gritty of strength training, you definitely need to take things in phases. Like after this tournament that I have this weekend, I'll be more in a like rebuilding my backhand, working on a bunch of form stuff, as well as, because I'm not going to be in tournaments, putting a higher strain on my body, weight training and cardio wise, to get in better shape. Because you can't do that while playing a tournament every weekend. I mean, you can, you're going to be sacrificing somewhere. There is only so much that your body can do each week, each day. And it's hard to get a meaningful fieldwork session in when you just went and absolutely crushed it in the gym and you struggled to get out of the car to go do that fieldwork session. That's not going to be as meaningful.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So, Kim, what do you do for working out for disc golf?
Personally, let's say I don't have a bad back and I don't travel every single weekend and I'm exhausted all the time. So typical, I try to get to the gym about 3 times a week, and I just keep it simple. I have a workout book I got online, so it keeps me, what's it called? Accountable. So that way I know what I'm doing and I have something. But my biggest thing is college softball. I had really bad coaches. I have really just bad memories from that time, and going to the gym has always been difficult for me because I want the ability to say no, because I didn't have that back then. Like they were pretty brutal on us. So when I go to the gym nowadays, I go, well, I don't want to do this. Well, I can say no, and I get excited, and then I don't go because I want that power back. So nowadays with this book, I have this workout book. It gives me 6 workouts to do, but I only really have time for 4. So that power that I have is the ability that I can choose any 4 I want.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which it's so helpful, and I kind of get excited. I'm like, I'm not doing that one. No. So yeah, I try to go to the gym. I'm going to say probably 3 times average a week. And for me, I want to feel strong. So I'll go to the gym and I'll just kind of lift. I'll do body weights. I don't like using machines. For me personally, I don't feel like it helps me. I rather move around weights or move around my body and all that stuff. Josh is more of the cardio aspect. Josh will go and he'll want to run or he'll want to bike. And that's good for him. He really likes the endurance level. He wants to feel that. I would rather just feel strong. What about you?
Yeah, I try to take a balanced approach. I don't think I've mentioned this here, but I used to be a pretty good triathlete, and that definitely requires a balance of being strong, like pushing weights around, kind of strength, while still being able to run. You can't just be a ball of muscle. So I've taken a lot of that forward with me into disc golf, where I'll weight train 4 times a week, and I'll do some form of cardio 5 to 6 times a week. But I'm very cognizant of my workload. So like if I coming off of a rest day, a really either heavy day lifting or a very strenuous day cardio wise, but I won't do both strenuous in that same day. And then after that strenuous day, the next day still be doing something, but either or both aspects are very dialed back.
Yeah.
If you watch a lot of professional athletes, they're very cognizant of the load that they're putting on their bodies. There's tons of apps that you can pay for and all that sort of stuff that will track your load for you. I kind of more go off of previous experience and like how my body feels in general. Like if I'm struggling to walk down the stairs in my house, that's a day where we're going to do some yoga. That's not a day.
Yeah. Take a day off.
That's not a day where I'm going to go run 4 miles. Like let's,
no.
But I think cardio for disc golf is really important. Getting back to the whole end of round 2 of the day, you have an advantage if you're more cardio inclined than your competitors. Strength training, like you look at what people like Katrina Allen and Ezra.
Yes.
And Paul's really big into strength training and just keeping in good shape. That kind of era of disc golfer, like I've heard stories from people of a bunch of the pro disc golfers are going to go out for the night after a tournament round, and Paul wants to go back to his hotel so he can sleep and get a workout in the morning. And that's the attitude that he took and is starting to become more popular. So I think
I understand that.
Yeah. Strength training, I don't think is like none of these things are a direct translation to if you can bench 225, you will throw further.
Yeah, no.
It does not hurt. There's no like NFL combine of you can take someone's physical attributes and like testing scores of if you made everybody run a mile and bench press and squat and all that sort of stuff.
Could you imagine? Welcome to disc golf. For your PDGA membership, we're going to need you to run a mile and let us know your time.
And then we're going to need you to do a broad jump and
and a 5-10-5, a 20-40 dash. You'll just do all the metrics that my job has. I'll pass out the radars, everybody.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's not that simple, but I think if you start working out and start getting into a routine, a routine's good for your just overall mental health. Routines are great.
Yes, 100%. Routines for life.
But if you get into a good routine, you will see improvements in your disc golf. Just overall. Now, how you want to approach it, it kind of depends on you. Like I currently am training for my first triathlon in a couple of years, so I'm a lot more on the cardio side, doing a little bit of strength training in between, more as supplemental for disc golf and the race. But it's mostly a cardio thing for me, and kind of getting back to my whole phases thing. Once I'm past that, I might focus on strength a little bit more, because that definitely takes a lot out of the body. What about you? Do you follow a routine? Have you followed a routine? You said that you travel a lot for work, so but what do you do? Much. What would you do if you had the opportunity to be in a routine?
If every weekend was the same amount of kids, the same tryout, like same time I fly home and everything, it would be Monday. I would get back from the tryout Sunday night, and Monday I would have all my meetings and I'd get all my work done, and I would go play a light round with Josh. On Tuesdays, I would go to the gym in the morning, Wednesdays, gym in the morning, Thursdays, gym in the morning. And then whatever I had to do that day, whether it's work, whatever, getting ready for when I leave. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday, I get ready to go, and we can really play a good competitive round on Thursday. Like Thursday would be the most amount I play, because Friday I get on a plane that morning and leave. But
Right.
I don't play Friday. I would be able to play Saturday. So then I get like 3 days kind of off from the gym, 3 to 4 days, depending on how I'm feeling. It's really tough traveling and going to the gym, okay? Because all you want to do is go back to sleep.
Yeah, I can imagine. We're both talking about this from the experience of being pretty good athletes and have been in training routines before and all that sort of stuff. If you're not as familiar and don't know what you want to do, there are great resources. I'm starting to follow a more baseball aspect or baseball oriented weight training, but trying to build the explosiveness that baseball players tend to have. And if you want to disc golf specific, I believe Avery Jenkins has on his website disc golf specific workouts. So if you don't know where to start, that's a great.
And that's the hardest part sometimes. That's the hardest part sometimes, is where to start. And Avery Jenkins put up a bunch of workouts that you can pick which ones you like, mix and match, or you can just follow them to a T if you just need someone to tell you what to do.
Yep. So there are options out there. I've tried a lot of different things. So if you're curious, hit me up. I'm no expert, but I'll at least give you my opinion.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do here, is just give our opinions, whether they're
Here's
right
my
or wrong.
opinion.
Well, Kim, you have anything else for us?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for today. You can find Kim on Instagram at Kim the Great and me at EvanAmStutzDG. Remember to follow the pod on Instagram at Mediocre Disc Golf Pod and on Twitter at Mediocre DG Pod. If you want to support us, buy our shirts on mythicdiscgolf.com and listen to us every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you enjoyed the show, leave us 5 stars in a review. And if you didn't, still give us 5 stars and tell us why. We know we aren't perfect because we are mediocre.